Good evening. Welcome to the Transfiguration House. My name is Father Daniel London, and hope you are having a really blessed Maundy Thursday. I'm so heartbroken that we are not able to be meeting together in person in our magnificent church building. Breaks my heart, but this is an expression of our love for each other to stay home, and by staying home as church leaders, we are modeling this for the community. We want to model this loving behavior, really, and that's what Maundy Thursday is about. The mandatum is to love one another and make sacrifices. So it only makes sense for us to be staying home on this Maundy Thursday, as painful and as heartbreaking as it is. It really is causing grief. But this way I get to show you Transfiguration House, my altar, a tea cart that Ashley and I bought at McKinleyville when we first moved here. Got my Christ Church Rica mug. Hope you have yours. Behind me is a picture of Ashley's and my wedding at Grace Cathedral. And to my left, there's an icon that I made when I was in Fuller Seminary, and a wooden sculpture of Mary that I received from Tom and Peach Bond. Thank you, Tom and Peach. And Mary is standing on top of a tile top table that Helen Huey made. Thank you, Helen. And behind that, behind these daffodils, which were given to me by Dan and Karen Price, there's a lemon tree that the vestry gave to Ashley as a thank you for her being host to the several guests that we've had, the out-of-town guests we've had during this 150th year. Thank you all for your wonderful generosity and all your gifts, as well as for all the cards you sent me during my own time of grief, as I'm still mourning the loss of my father. You've showered us both with gifts, and tonight I have a gift for you, another guest who is part of the Christ Church Rica community, our associate priest, one of our associate priests, Mother Lesley. You should have received one of these online. You can download this, the Maundy Thursday at Home program, as well as a coloring book. Could be used for people of all ages. Holy Week at Home coloring book. At the back of your program for Maundy Thursday, on page 14, the bottom of page 14, you'll see a homily. And I thought it would be nice to not only read Mother Lesley's words, but to see her face and to hear her soothing voice, especially during this time when we are so isolated. So let us open our hearts and our eyes and our ears to receive Mother Lesley on this Maundy Thursday. Mother Lesley. I'm so glad that Mother Lesley is here with us on this Maundy Thursday, Associate Priest of Christ Church Rica, beloved Associate Priest. And she has put together this wonderful Maundy Thursday at Home service for us all to follow. And if you look at the bottom of page 14, you can read her homily, and she will be offering that homily to us. So let us open our hearts and open our minds to her right now. Thank you so much, Lesley, for being with us on this special evening.
Thank you, Father Daniel. It is an honor to be with you and to be with all the people of Christ Church on this night, this wonderful night, when we enter into the most mysterious time of the church year, the night when we begin what we know as the Triduum, 3 days that begin with foot washing, with a commandment, a meal, and culminate in the resurrection of our Lord. So the resurrection, It is glorious. It is wondrous and awesome and mysterious and holy. And we might say it's just a little beyond our knowing. It's not your average everyday experience. So tonight, despite the fact that we are all sheltering in place, and despite the fact that we can't gather together in person in our beautiful church, we're still called to participate in something much more concrete, something we should have no trouble understanding because it is a meal, supper or dinner, whatever we want to call it, with friends, either in person or in spirit. If we think about Jesus, throughout his ministry, he ate a lot of meals. Mostly he ate them with his friends. We know that he ate with Martha and Mary and Lazarus, with tax collectors and sinners. He ate at wedding banquets and on the hillsides with thousands of other folk. But tonight's meal is something special. As Anglicans, as Episcopalians, we often speak of our theology as being incarnational. Incarnational, where God took upon God's own self human form and came and lived among us. God lived as one of us, both fully human and fully divine. And tonight, the everydayness of sharing a meal with friends reminds us of this basic characteristic of our Christian faith. And just in case we're led astray thinking that Jesus was a regular guy at dinner, we should remember how his life on earth was so countercultural, how so far out of the norm for his time his life was. From his birth in a stable to his death on the cross, Jesus lived his life outside the box. If his life were a coloring book, none of the color would be inside the lines. And I think his disciples must have found his way of living challenging at best because it was so far beyond their way of thinking. And then for Jesus, with the disciples' seemingly naive assumptions about God, at times he must have found them narrow-minded and legalistic, with no vision whatsoever of the future, despite the fact that he constantly talked with them about these things. For us, I believe it's challenging to live as Jesus calls us to live. It was challenging for his disciples, and it is challenging for us because we're so often caught up in the language of maintenance and control. Even in these times, we like to be in control. And it seems that personally and nationally, our motto often is my way or the highway, because we like all our colors firmly within the lines, firmly restrained within the lines of our coloring books. Tonight's meal, the Last Supper, for us is a symbol of Jesus' life. It's a symbol of the countercultural character of his life on earth and his mission among us. For in instituting the Eucharist, the sacrament of his body and blood, he shows us the true meaning of his death and resurrection. The breaking of the bread, the drinking of the wine are an expression of the new world, the new realm that comes into being when Jesus is at his most powerless. When amidst his devastation in the face of oppression and evil, he shows us the meaning of justice and truth and love. His death bears witness to the power of evil in this world, but his resurrection is witness to God's triumph over evil, over death and the grave. For in the blessing and breaking and sharing of the bread and in the drinking of the wine, Jesus gives us his life. We eat his body and we drink his blood. and his life is in us, and we become one with him. This Eucharistic meal, which is so familiar to us, is so simple, but so eloquent, because it is for us a reminder of all the meals that Jesus has eaten with friends, with sinners, and with those who would do him harm. And this Last Supper, this meal in the upper room, prefigures the meals he'll eat with his disciples after his resurrection, and all the meals he eats and will eat with us. It is a foretaste of the heavenly banquet that awaits us. And so, my friends, tonight, while we cannot gather together in person to celebrate this meal, to hear his command, do this in remembrance of me, we must remember that he is with us this night. He is present with us in spirit. And that while we eat our evening meal, with friends, with family, or alone, on this holy night, he is present with us, reminding us, demanding of us that we become like him, that we follow him, living our lives outside the box and coloring outside the lines, reminding us always to care for the sick, for the poor, for the hungry, reminding us to protect those who, especially in these times, need protection. And that includes ourselves, each and every one of us. Jesus also reminds us to forgive those who need forgiveness. And sometimes, again, that can be ourselves. And he reminds us to continue his work of healing, of peace and equality. His new commandment calls us to make ourselves open and vulnerable so that we might care for and might love all of God's people as we ourselves are loved. So the bread that is taken, blessed, broken, and shared, the wine that is sipped, the body and blood of Christ awaits us. And yet, still this night, we think on this simple meal, this wondrous gift, the gift of life outside the box, the gift of color outside the lines, the gift of love that was and is and ever will be so very freely given.